Hello everyone and welcome back to Joy's Creative Finger. Today I've built a palace and I'm so excited to take you on a tour of it. It's an addition to Prince Edan's estate. He had a French chateau, he had a royal castle, and this particular palace is a big part of the next episode for Cinderella. Now if you've not watched the series, then go over to the Cinderella playlist and start from the beginning up to this point. It's quite interesting and you'll be just in time for the next episode. So I've gone for the ice palace roof that you see here because of the gold rims around it. I think it's really pretty. And of course I've gone for the French chateau plot. In the 4th or 5th episode, I think, their royal chateau had burned to the ground. Princess Moya's mother had cursed the plot. So we got rid of that chateau and now I've built a palace on here, and I think this is really pretty. I have decided that perhaps they will move to this plot, but it will affect the story in some way, so you'll see how that takes place in the next episode. So before we go on into the rest of this palace, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the front part here, where I use these mirrors around these little towers, and it just shines. If you look at it, it just shines in view. And the ice palace single doors look like blue emerald pillars that sink right into the ground in the front here, and I use the wizard cottage flooring to blend in with the actual plot flooring so that it's invisible in some way. It doesn't look like it's a room, but it's actually a room there. However, at a glance it looks like the emerald pillars go straight into the plot. Now I made use of the porthole windows. You use them in ships, and using them behind these beautiful ornate lamps just injected a bit more gold into the build, and you can see that the roof has a rim that's made of gold as well, so all the more sparklier the better. Now, the royal castle is built on the wedding plot. It's a good plot, but it has a wedding arbor at the back, and so it isn't quite suitable for the prince and the princess. I had a division at the back part between the castle and the actual wedding arbor, but I am convinced that I will move the prince and the princess to this plot because I spent a lot of time working on this plot. And it's no secret that the French chateau plot is my favorite plot of all. And I have also injected in some of the ideas from my wedding villa into the back part of this build. I have these sets of balconies and they look like a waterfall in some way because of the items I used from the backyard beautification event. And I feel that the prince and princess, while enjoying a cup of tea, would have a beautiful time enjoying the scenery back here. So it's I think this is where we are going to definitely progress to as you'll see things unfold in the next episode. This chandelier here is the wedding chandelier. It's beautiful, and you have to imagine that it's connected to the roof in some way and then sets above this area where they would sit down and have a good time. And of course these items will be put in by the servants into the house in storage if the weather isn't favorable, and you'll see where the space is made available for that on the inside. So it's a symmetrical build, and I love that the windows help to make this build look even more royal. These French chateau windows are really lovely. They just make the building look really regal. And most importantly, they are situated in a way that makes sense on the inside, where the division of rooms come into play. So there's a balcony up top here for the prince and princess to make speeches to the public, and this is the main entrance into the palace. There are some modern features in here, so you see that I've used a glass door instead. So this is how you walk in. I'm turning around so that you can see what it looks like when you are welcomed in to the royal palace. So of course we have a nice seating area on the corner here, and I do have a glitch video that shows how to do this. I have a couple or 3 even out that still have the same methods working, so you can get this sort of look for your couches. And over in the corner here we have a nice restroom for guests to walk in and quickly relieve themselves and then sit down here and wait to be seen by the royal staff. Now the cook is going up this beautiful golden spiral staircase, and it leads all the way up to where we have the balcony out back, but this level is actually the platform where the prince and princess come out to make speeches, or the king and queen, who knows. But most royal builds have this feature. Buckingham Palace has the same. It's like a window, but it's a balcony. You come out and you wave to the crowds, and so it's important to me that I was able to incorporate this in this build, as well as the royal castle in the last episode. And it's interesting because the Royal French Chateau didn't have this feature, and I'm happy that I've grown in this process to realize that a royal build has to have that feature incorporated into it. Now, when you come into the entrance, we have a side door here that leads into the kitchen area for the staff, because the prince and the princess have no business in the kitchen, and this is where the fridge is situated. I always have issues placing fridges in kitchens, so I'm quite glad that I have a separate room for it. And so instead of the brown and green Chateau original kitchen units, I've gone for the clean, clear and white, but we've kept the cooker. But this flooring I absolutely love. It's from the snow problem that we completed over the Christmas, and this is the stairwell that leads down to the staff quarters, and we'll see that at the end of the tour. Now, I have an open plan space here, and I think I love the idea, particularly because I have a mezzanine above it, so you can see down from upstairs. So we have the piano here in the corner, and you can imagine you'd have staff playing the piano, would have important guests seated at this table and eating, wining and dining. And you have these lovely chandeliers that we got from the wedding bells event, I think it was called. It's beautiful. And then these golden pots I got from the mystery box. I love them with the plants on them. They're a lot bigger, aren't they? And so they fill up the space and fill out the wall nicely. So it's an open plan space, particularly because I have the mezzanine above it. So it's a different feature to the other houses that I've built. We have a seat in the corner here, so you can sit down and just lounge around. It's an entertaining space. That's what you have to imagine, that you walk in and this is where you could have dancing going on, eating and festivities of all sorts. Then we have a sink room in the corner here beside the dining room. It means obviously that there is no toilet in here at all. You just come in, wash your hands, powder your face. It's a cloakroom in some way. And then you have the main living room down here. It's the great room. It's beautiful. It's cozy. You can smell the white paint. And of course, I've made use of some techniques to glitch and manipulate certain things into place to give me the look that I wanted. Another wedding bells, beautiful chandeliers hanging above the space, and it just looks heavily decked out, and that's the look that I wanted for it. And then we have the door that leads out back to the fantastic garden that we have set up for the prince and princess, or particularly the princess, because she goes out and she likes to enjoy the greens and the beautiful flowers, you know, and the waterfalls and so on. So it's particularly for her, and the fairies, and of course she's got a swing out back here as well. So this is an overview of the entire downstairs part of this palace. So we've got the living room back towards the garden. I think that makes sense. And then we've got the wash sink room. That's also a cloakroom. We have the open plan space where we have the grand staircase, the kitchen, the waiting area up front, and a restroom to the right hand side in view. So the grand staircase goes up and is attached to a mezzanine. And this is obviously since we've completed the mezzanine quest. It's called the All Mezzed Up quest. I think it's a great addition to our game so that we can build and create amazing designs in our homes in the game. And this is what I've put together up here using this staircase, because you know you can use other staircases, but I just love the fact that the staircase worked in this build for this palace. And I just love the chandelier above the open space. Now there are 3 doors on this level, and they all lead to the private quarters for this palace. We have the nursery, the royal nursery, which is an ensuite in the corner here. I had fun building this little space, and yeah, I just felt that it had to be different from the other nurseries that I'd built in different homes. It had to look different, and the seat at the back of the cot just looks like a space where lots of cushions are tossed in just to make the place nice and cushy and warm and fuzzy. We haven't decided yet if it's a boy or a girl, but there's an ensuite here for the baby to be bathed in, and that's basically what I have for the royal nursery. There is a room that is directly opposite this nursery across the mezzanine space, and you can see all the way down below the dining room, the entrance, and then we have this room. In most of my builds, well, the royal builds, there has to be a room that makes use of this French furniture. I love it because it definitely has a royal touch to it. This is what you see down below, all the way where we have the dining table, and the chandelier is actually hanging from that roof. I just love this idea of mezzanines. But as I was saying, this room is a room that I decided to put together using all the older French furniture in the game. And I have used the Prince in the Pocket Size Princess event rug underneath those seats. And I think that the whole coordination works well, quite nicely. And it's also an ensuite. So perhaps a royal couple, a friend, family member, maybe the king and queen might come to spend the night. That's where they would stay in this palace. But then we have the grand master unit for the prince and the princess. They have the double doors that lead into their chamber, and upon getting into the chamber you have a seating area right in front, and then you have the beautiful bed area in this far end of the room here. It's also draped on either side with beautiful lavender flowers, so the scent in the room is exquisite, and I've popped in some of these beautiful spiral decorative pieces at the back there just to add a little bit of gold into the room. Now we have an ensuite bathroom for the princess in the corner here, so she has a vanity unit here where she can get, touched up. And then we have a seat here, we've got the tub, we've got towels, fresh towels and robes. And this beautiful double sink unit is from the mystery box that I unlocked, and I used it in my French courtyard. You should have a look at that video, it's quite lovely. This is the closet space for the princess. So basically this unit on this side of this master bedroom is for her. Now it's exactly mirrored on the opposite side of this bedroom, and it's for the prince, of course. He doesn't have a vanity unit in here, but there is a place for them to get beautified upstairs, and we'll see that later. So everything is exactly the same. There are curtains in this master suite, and I had these black frames that I really don't like, so that's how I was inspired to use the backyard beautification event privacy screens to create coverage so I don't have to see those black frames. And then it turned into something else altogether, which I absolutely love, and it just became a feature that worked well with the entire build. So this is the overview for this floor, and this floor is basically for the bedrooms, and in order to access any other part of the build you have to work your way down the grand set of staircases where we have this lovely mezzanine setup, and then you have to come through to the front part of the build, out the first set of doors, and then up the golden spiral staircases, past the level where they have to make announcements at the balcony, and all the way up to the next level. That's the only way I could work it, and it makes sense that you have this section here. Now the guards make a lot of use of this space. They sit down here and look out of these portholes to see what's going on, and they have a place to sit and wait for their shift. Now when the prince is making a speech, the two guards would come out and stand in this porch here, and then the prince would be down below speaking to the people. Ever since what happened with Princess Moya, they became even more concerned about security, and so that's why this feature has been incorporated into this build. So you've got some guards in there. For now they're behind closed doors and they keep watch and they swap shifts. They don't stand there forever. But yeah, when there's a speech they come out front and make their presence felt. You might remember Prince Edan has always had a fascination about books, so obviously he has a nice space to himself where he has a complete collection of all the favorite books that he's ever read. And to the north of his study is a door, and behind that door is where we have one of the guards situated, so he's quite safe even while he's in his private study. Across this mezzanine, past the guard tower, is another door leading into this beautiful spa area. So the prince and the princess come in here to get done up, made up thoroughly by the very best in case they need to make a public appearance. So they do have staff that are dedicated to taking care of their outer appearance. So earlier you saw that she had a little vanity desk in her bathroom, and that doesn't really matter because they have a full-on space for makeovers upstairs here, and I arranged the space so that every item here can be accessed by two sims, so the sim getting treated and the actual person giving the treatment. Now there is storage to the left and right of this part of the build, so you walk on along this mezzanine balcony and you have access into a storage space on the left and on the right of the door that leads out to this beautiful dreamy balcony. The storage spaces are the places in the towers where you might find the old spinning wheel where Sleeping Beauty would have pricked her little finger, but this is basically where these items would be put out and stored away from unfavorable weather. Now I will do a live build for this, and I know I said I don't do live builds for very massive builds, but definitely for this one, because I see it as a replacement build for the Royal Castle because it has a chimney, and ever since the Mezzanine update, the chimney feature has caused the roof of the entire castle to disappear. So there's no roof on the Royal Castle, there's no roof on the French Chateau, and it doesn't really matter about the French Chateau because that burnt to the ground, right? So, and this is the plot that I have put this particular palace on, so this would be a replacement build for a royal build in your town. So the last place to see is obviously the basement leading on from the kitchen. I thought it made sense that the staff come up into the kitchen area, take care of the feeding of the members of the palace, and then of course they take care of every other cleaning jobs required of them. So the laundry is down here, and it's your typical laundry. I decided to of course place a couple of artworks, well, old rusty ones down here in some way, not to make it too fancy, and there's an area to sit. I was trying to be careful not to get it all glammed up because it's not really meant to be. And then these double bifold doors, I thought, just created a different look to the basement in some way. Again, just particularly because I like them, but I like that it's like, you know, a dungeon in some way, but not in the real sense of the word. There's a nice ensuite room here for the royal maid that stays in this palace, and you'll get to see her when we get to the next episode for Cinderella. And then we have a nice winery, wine cellar in the corner here where they would have stored nice wines from the vines out back on this plot, and this is where they'd keep it and mark the dates on the board for the different barrels and when they were brought down here. And that's what we have at the basement. Well, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again soon. Bye.